field of broadcast journalism continues to change over the years. Seneca professor Roger McTair shares what he remembers when first starting in the industry.
So could you just describe what your very first job was in the industry?
My first job was working in television. I was a scriptwriter, writing news actually for a show called Panorama.
Okay.
And that's what I began doing.
And was that in Canada?
No, that was in Trinidad.
Oh, okay. And what kind of so how can you compare the industry now to what it was like when you first started?
Oh, that's a tough question. The industry now, I mean, everything has gone digital. I'm not sure exactly how much it has changed since I've been teaching it for 16 years. So, I'm not part of that, the industry as much anymore. I went into advertising for a little while. So I really wasn't involved in the industry. And then when I did work with the industry, I did a lot of freelance work. So I wasn't part of any institution.
Okay. And what kind of obstacles did you face when you first began?
Couldn't get a job. That was the first thing. Coming from the Caribbean, people thought you probably couldn't hack it.
Mm.
So that was part of the first thing. I went to the Globe and Mail and I was working as a proofreader there. And while I was there, I did a bit of freelance work for them, writing. But I never really worked in television in this country.
And what are the differences between coming from the Caribbean to here? What are the main differences that you've noticed?
When you work here, it's a lot more professional, sort of thing. It's a lot more, what's the word I want to use? People know more stuff, and people are very, very much more professional than the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, you have talk show hosts who will just about say anything. Certainly in Trinidad, where I'm from. So very often, when I listen to radio, I think this is really terrible. Television is a little bit better, but radio in particular, they've got these talk show hosts who very often are aligned with political parties, and they will say all kinds of stuff, which you probably couldn't say here. And not nice stuff.
Okay, so what kind of stuff?
Oh, they will support the party in power, or they will support the other opposition party, and they will say really nasty things about people. Not professional at all.
What do you think newcomers to the journalism industry nowadays face the same kind of challenges that you faced?
No. When I began doing some work in television, people could get in without a degree or without a diploma or something. I don't think that could happen anymore. That has changed considerably. Or you had a good voice and that was it, but now you have to be trained. You've got to be trained to be part of the industry.
So with technology advancing over the years, how has that, in your opinion, changed specifically a radio personality's performance?
Well, with radio, you could just be an announcer and sit on the desk and talk. Now you've got to know computers. So a lot of people come to this program, for instance, and they want to do radio because they think they've got a good voice, but when they recognize they've got to learn all the computer stuff, and they drop out. I know at least 3 people that has happened to, because they can't handle the computers. They think a good voice is enough. Not anymore. There's such a thing as convergence, and people want you to be able to do a lot more than one thing. So that becomes a problem.
So you've experienced in writing, directing, poetry, and documentaries, and how did you come to realize you were passionate about all these areas?
Oh, I always wrote since I was a kid. My mother said I wrote very, very early. I think I was 3 or 4 when I began writing. I come from a family of teachers, so they made me learn to read at a very early age. Okay. And I have an uncle who's a novelist. I heard my father wrote a little bit. So I grew up in that environment, an environment where people did a lot of arguing and talking, and they went into politics and literature and that kind of stuff. So it was just a natural part of what I did. And by the time I was about 12, I began a novel set in Arizona, hadn't left the Caribbean yet, but I thought I'd write a novel set in Arizona. And I think I got to page 80 or something, you know. So it was just natural for me to write. I just wrote. I don't even know if I ever thought about not writing. I just did it.
So which area best reflects who you are, like in terms of, because they all incorporate storytelling. Which, out of your experience, what do you think's the best one that shows who you are?
I'm a poet.
Well, yeah.
When I'm forced to be, I'm a poet, and a short story writer. I do those things kind of automatically. And if I have to spend my time doing something, that's what I do. But I've written for the Toronto Star. I write other things too. If something hits me, I will write. At one time, I used to write for the Star like every 2 weeks. You know, I see something in the paper, and I get angry, and so I was practically doing a column for the Star one time. I just write. I mean, I'm thinking what I don't write. I used to make this stupid joke in my class where I've written everything from poetry to obituaries, and it's true. I've written obituaries of friends of mine who have died or whatever. So I'm a writer. That's what I do.
And what is your biggest accomplishment in the industry that you're most proud of, and why?
I used to do a thing called Arts Express with Rita Deverell at Vision TV. I like that. I think my stint writing for the Star caused a lot of controversy and discussion, so I kind of like that too. And the last documentary I made called Journey to Justice, which was made with the NFB. I can't say like any one thing. I used to be a good soccer player too, but
Oh, yeah?
but I don't think that has anything to do with writing.
That's great.
But I wasn't a good soccer player. But played with heart.
Yeah, that's all you need. Let's see here. So how do you incorporate your past experiences with your profession as teaching?
Well, as somebody who's spent a long time in the industry doing different things, you have a lot of examples for your students. So you say, I think you should do this. But then on the other hand, I did this and it didn't work. So don't do that, okay? So the examples in the profession tend to work for me, because I can say, this might work, which is normally my lecture. And then my anecdotes, which is, this does not work. Like, for instance, I met Henry Louis Gates, who Barack Obama's very good friend, and I went to interview him. It took me 3 months to set up the interview. So I go down to Boston and go to his office in Harvard, and I turn the tape recorder on. I begin talking, and when I look down, the red light isn't on. The batteries had died. I always tell that story. The batteries had died. But that's not the end of the story. He follows my eyes and he says, "You're not getting all that stuff?" And I said, "It's okay, I take good notes." Fortunately, I had a notebook out. But yeah, the batteries died. So I say, always put fresh batteries in, because this happened to me. So I always tell all the really grotty things that have happened to me. I think it works.
Roger that.